Hey y'all, it's your girl Hope You TV Movie Bestie, and I watch good shit, and I just got done watching this week's episode of Hacks. Now, Deborah and Ava, they're back in Vegas, and they are here because this rock star, Nico, he is doing a new residency, and so, they're just there checking out everything. Nico, turns out he's a big fan of Deborah. He wants to meet her, so she goes, talks to him. They have a good little interaction. The next day, his publicist calls Jimmy, and Jimmy calls Deborah. He's like, he won't have a date with you. And he's like, I don't know what this is about, but Deborah's like, oh, this is publicity. He needs publicity. I need it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go on a date. At the party, the previous day, Ava, she meets a very cute sex worker. Now, y'all, I thought that was a joke. He said he was a sex worker, but I was like, no, he just kidding. No, he really is a sex worker. And Ava, she cool with that. So Ava's like, great. So they start talking. They really make a connection. They exchange numbers. They plan a date. Okay. Deborah's old manager, Marcus, he finds out that they are selling one of the oldest casinos in Vegas. What if I bought this hotel? He was like, what if I bought it? I turned it into like a boutique hotel. So he meets with the realtor. So it's the next day, Ava and Deborah, they getting ready for their dates. Deborah, because she thinking this is a publicity stunt, she calls up one of her favorite paparazzi guys, and she's like, hey, we're going to be here, come on out. And he's like, okay. And so she showed up to the date. Her and Nico are oddly dressed very alike. And so he takes their phones. He's like, I got a private dinner set aside. I really want to enjoy this time, just us, quiet. And she's like, okay. So they connect. They're very similar in how their lives work now. So they end up having a great date. And they make out. And Deborah's like, look at me. So Ava and her boo, on their date, they having a great time. She making out with him. Everything's going well. Now, both women get home, they live together. So they start gushing about how great the date was, their new little booze. Ava is like, Deborah, this was a real date. And she's like, oh my gosh, yes. She said, what if I should invite him to Marty's wedding? And Ava's like, yes. So they start texting. He already had texted her. He said, oh, I had a great time tonight. She's like, you want to go to this random wedding? She gets Ava to help her with the text. He's like, yeah, let's go. And she's like, oh my gosh. So she called up Marty. Now, y'all, it's the middle of the night. And Marty is like, hello, what's going on? And she's like, hey, I need to change my reservation to your wedding. I have a +1 now, and I want to bring this new boo. He's a rock star. And he's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And so Ava's like, and can I bring my new boo? He's a sex worker. And he's like, what? Yeah, whatever y'all want to do. It's like, I'm asleep. Yeah, y'all do whatever y'all want to do. Marcus, he meets with the realtor. He's really thinking, I want to buy this casino, turn it into a nice boutique hotel. So he goes to Deborah and he's like, what you think about me buying the hotel? And she's like, I don't know, Marcus. She said, I don't think I would do it if I was you. Tourism is down. You have to deal with the gaming association. Like, it's a lot to take on a hotel. It's also very expensive to renovate it. I would just invest my money in an index and not do this. And so he's like, okay, you're right. Thanks for the reality check. Now we on date number 2. Nico and Deborah. Everything starts off really good. It doesn't end really well. So the paparazzi is back. They have this private dinner. He's rented out this restaurant. Again, they making out. They having a good time. They come out. Paparazzi is everywhere. And so Nico, he does not like this. He has already expressed that he really values his privacy. He says that he doesn't have a good relationship with his parents because he emancipated himself when he was 15 because his dad sold his homecoming photos. He's just not into the paparazzi at all. As they're coming out and, trying to get in the car, they asking questions and what's going on with y'all item, da-da-da-da. They're just like, let's get in the car. And so one of the guys goes, Deborah, you called me and now y'all ain't got nothing for me? And he said, what? Nico. And Deborah's like, just get in the car. Don't pay him no mind. So they get in the car and he tells his driver, like, hey, we need a minute. Did you invite the paparazzi to our first date? And now again? And she's like, okay, I did invite them to the first one. And she said, because I thought it was a publicity stunt. And so I was getting us publicity. And she's like, but I realized that, you really like me and I really like you. And she's like, so I didn't, I didn't do this, but now they're following us. And he's like, yeah, I can't trust you now. I don't even believe you. Yeah, I want you to get out. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I just go. And he's like, and I'm not going to that wedding either. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And he's just like, yeah, no. So I was like, damn, Deborah. Now, date number 2 with the sex worker is also starting off really good. Ava, his name is Eli. Ava and Eli, they have sex. Great. Everything is good. Ava, she also invites him to the wedding. And he's like, okay, cool, I'm down. And so they get to talking. He says, my dream job is to be a magician. And Ava said, what now? And he's like, yeah. He's like, why do you think I moved to Vegas? And she said, to be a prostitute. And he's like, no. He's like, that pays my bills. And he said, but no, I want to be a magician. And she's like, why? And he's just like, because. So he starts doing his little tricks. Now I'm thinking, Ava, he might be good at this. Y'all, he is not good at this. He is so bad. And Ava's just like, what is happening? And she's just like, honey, you're a sex worker. Just stick to that. I'm going to be good at this magician. You just wait. He said, I'm improving. I'm getting better every day. And she's like, okay. The next day, Deborah, she is spiraling, y'all. She done sent Nico 500 paragraphs worth of text. He ain't answering them. She just sitting on the couch. Ava like, we need to be working on stuff. We got Madison Square Garden. She's like, why you think he ain't responding? So Ava look at the phone and she's like, girl, it's too much blue. And she's like, you sent this man too many texts. And she said, Deborah, these are marked as not delivered. And she's like, oh, so he ain't read them yet. And she's like, no, he blocked you, girl. He ain't got them. And she's like, block me? How I block him back? So Ava's just like, Deborah, put the phone down. Like, So next day, Ava go to the wedding. Now, Ava, she bring Eli. She start introducing him to Deborah. Deborah is just like, I hope y'all can hold on to the love that y'all have. And he's like, okay. Deborah, she getting drunk. So she's out of there. Now, the mayor is there, y'all. Now, this is probably my favorite character on the show because this lady is batshit crazy. And she's just so funny. So she's like, Eli, what you doing here? And Ava's like, you know him? And she said, yeah, girl, this is my Sunday night fun time. And so she's like, oh, okay. Well, I'm dating him. He's my date. And she said, look at you. And so some other people, they come over and they're like, hey, Mayor, they start talking. So she introduces them. Ava said, oh, I've met you before. I work with Deborah Vance. I'm a writer. And so then they say, oh, Eli, well, what is it that you do? Now, here go Eli. Oh, I'm a magician. And he said, or like an illusionist. Ava goes, what? And she said, no, he's a sex worker. And she said, that's what he do mostly, sex work. Because Ava just cannot get over him wanting to be a magician. And she's just like, no, the sex work. That's what you do. That's what we're proud of. The mayor, she goes, hey, I tried to get a date with him later on tonight. And he said he can't because he here with you. Now, y'all, she said, seems like really likes your raggedy. I thought she said your raggedy ass. And I died laughing. But she really said, seems like he really likes you raggedy Ann because Ava has red hair. Either way, it was funny. And so Ava's like, no, you should definitely, hook up with her tonight. And he said, why? Why are you pushing the sex work? And she's like, well, it's good money. And he's like, okay, but do you have some kind of problem with me being a magician? And she's like, that is a great question. And she said, I just feel like the sex work thing is important and then the magician thing is just not as much. And so he's like, what the hell? And he's like, you know what, Ava, if you can't accept everything that I do, I don't think we need to be together. And she's like, no, I really want you to do the sex work stuff. You're so good at that. And he's just like, you know what? I'm going to be great at the magician and I'm going to prove you wrong. And he's like, I'm done with this relationship. And he said, and guess what? I'm getting out of the sex work game. And so Ava's like, no. And the mayor's like, what the hell? No. The wedding continues. So y'all, Marty's fiance gets arrested at the wedding. Like, she walking down the aisle and here come the FBI and they're like, you under arrest. That ain't even her real name. And Marty's like, what is happening? And they said, yeah, she's wanted for fraud, both domestically and internationally. And she's just like, I want to be tried in France. And she said, Marty, the name was fake, but the love was real. And, they take her off and they're like, everybody stick around because we want to ask y'all some questions. And Marty is just rightfully so distraught. Deborah comes in and, she checking on Marty because he up in his room. You all right? And he's like, I just cannot believe what she did. Like, and he said, they calling it elder fraud? And he's like, it's peer-to-peer fraud. I'm sorry, Marty. And so he said, Deborah, I got a crazy idea. Why don't we get married? And he's like, the priest's still here. Deborah said, Marty, calm down. And she's like, I'm definitely not going to marry you. And he's like, you sure? Why? And she's just like, Marty, you got to stop proposing to people. It's a compulsion. And she said, look, you love love. And I know you'll find it again. Hopefully it'll be right this time. And just chill. And so he's like, you sure you don't want to marry me? And she said, I tell you what. When we're 100, if both of us are still single, I'll definitely marry you then. And he said, okay, I got something to look forward to. She's like, don't worry. The fact is that you keep putting yourself out there. I just broke up with my little rock star guy. A lot of people our age, they just, knitting in a corner somewhere. But we still putting ourselves out there, taking risk. And she's like, that's what's important. In the spirit of taking risk, she goes to Marcus and she's like, Marcus, you know what? I was wrong about the casino, the hotel. You should do it. We should do it. Let's do it together. And he's like, no, I had my guy crunch the numbers and it is a really big risk. And she's like, yeah, but without risk, there's no reward. And she's like, come on. She's like, let's do it together. And then we'll take the risk together. She said, I want to work with you again. Like, we can be real partners this time. And she said, it can be 50-50. Or she said, I can even be a silent investor. Like, come on, let's do it. He's like, okay, all right, let's go. And she's like, yes. Deborah, Marcus, and Ava, they go the next day and, they're looking at the hotel, checking it out. And so Ava gets like some kind of notification on social media. And Deborah, Nico wrote a song about you. And she said, what? And so they watching the video and he's like, you're a liar. And it was like, ooh, and his fans are eating you up in the comments, girl. And she's like, how you gonna talk about me like this? Ava said, what, but I think this is good because we can use this material for Madison Square Garden. And Deborah says, you're right. If he can talk about me as an artist, I can talk about him as an artist. And she's like, get Diane Warren on the phone. And so the episode goes off. I said, dog, we went from Ava and Deborah, like, this blossoming little relationship to now they both single again, like in the same episode. Oh, that was fast. What's about to happen with this whole casino hotel? I do like that Marcus is back and that him and Deborah will be working together, but I hope this thing go well for them. But Deborah got a lot of money, so if she loses, it won't be that big of a deal for her. Anyways, I'm enjoying this final season. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. I'm your TV movie bestie, and I'm on all the socials. Like, subscribe, and follow, and I will see y'all on the next show on the next episode. Bye, besties.